will be teaching you how to install Perforce server on your PC locally today and how to connect that with Unreal Engine. Alright? First, you will need to install two things. One is called P4D and another is called P4V. This is the server and this is the visual program that you will be dealing your files in. It is a bit hard to find the download link here, so you can either choose to stop and copy the link, but for Chrome you can just search this and probably the second or the third search result will be it. Alright, once we have the two pages here, what we need to do is to set your Windows operating system. I use Windows. Same here. I use Windows, and hit download. Now in your downloads, you should be seeing these two packages. First, we are going to install the server, alright? Leave this as default. One thing we need to do is to go into program files and manually create this Perforce folder. Like this, program files, Perforce. Inside the Perforce file, we're going to create another file called P4root. This is the place that you are going to submit the files to the server, and it will also be the root of the server. Alright? Now go back to the installation. Let's set this as default. Alright, next page. Let's leave the port number as default and change the P4root to the P4root we just created in the program file. Like this. Next. Speaking of the server, since you're running it locally on your PC, we're going to type in localhost 1666. Alright? This sets up a local server on your PC and keep the username as whatever you want. For text editing application, usually it defaults set as Notepad. You can use Notepad, of course. I preferably will use VS Code. So if you have VS Code, choose VS Code, or if you have any other text applications that you like, choose what you like. But they are basically and functionally the same. We are just going to paste in some text, no difference. Alright, VS Code. Let's install the server. Once the P4V server says yes, exit, and we are going to install P4V. Keep everything as default. Next, it will automatically connect to your server. Next, install. Yes, of course. Let's install this. Alright, so we successfully installed P4V, which is the visual program that you will be dealing files in. See this? This saying start P4V. Once you exit this, there will be a P4V window pops up. Server is localhost 1666, just created, the one we just created. For user, you cannot leave it like this. We need to create a new one here because this one is temporal. It's nothing. Alright, I will put my email here. Now when we browse, we can see the user we just created. Select this one. Alright, we don't need to worry about workspace yet because we haven't created the default yet. Hit OK. Now this will pop up. Alright, would you automatically check for new versions? I personally choose no. Would you like to contribute using data? I personally choose no. Now you can see this is our window. It looks scary, but it's quite straightforward after you know how to use it. The very first thing you need to do is to go to Tools, Administration. This will pop up. What we are going to do is to create another depot to put your files in. This window pops up because it's asking you saying, hey, if you continue, you'll be the only super user. But since we're setting Perforce as our local server, we are the only user for this, we can just say yes. Let's zoom this up. Inside here, you can see the users, permissions, and depots. Click on depots. You can see there's a default depot that Perforce just created for us. We don't need that. If you want, you can keep it, but on my side, I will delete it. Now we're going to create a new depot. File, new depot. Add a name. I will say local try 1. Hit OK. This pops up. There are a few depot types. Stream is when you have multi-users, so you can have different branches of fixing things. But since I am just locally using this on my PC, I'm going to choose local, so I don't have to worry about anything else. Alright? Hit OK. Now we can see the depot I just created. Next thing we're going to do is to set the Perforce type map to tell Perforce, hey, how do I deal with all the informations? How do I deal with all the files? How do you do that is you're going to search CMD. This will pop up. Alright? Click this. Inside here, you're going to type P for type map, and you see a window pops up like this. If you use Notepad, it will be a Notepad window. If you use Visual Studio Code, it will be a VS Code window. The thing here you're going to do is to copy in the type map. So the type map I use here is from Unreal Engine Official. But their type map has these weird indents in front of each line. So I personally just fixed it. So I just copied the type map from Unreal Engine, but I personally deal with it. If you want, I have a doc teaching you how to do the Perforce. Maybe I can try to paste the link in YouTube's description. Let's save this. Once you close that window, it should say type map saved. As long as this type map saved is popped out, you're good. Alright, let's close the CMD for now. Now we already have type map set, and we have this local try 1 depot set. What we are going to do now is the workspace. Let's go to open connections, and then the workspace here, let's create a new one. For the workspace name, you can just say maybe local try 1, as long as it doesn't conflict with the name here. I will just call this local tut. And for the workspace root is which folder you want to do version control. Either there's things in it or no. I am going to choose the Unreal project folder I just created for that. Here is the local tut folder I created. And for stream, since we're a local depot, we don't need that. As long as we have the space name, space root, and then click on this, select this depot. Let's hit OK. It will pop up this. This is saying, hey, you already have files in your project. Do you want to choose another project? I pick no here. Just in case, if you want to see this every time you start up the P4V, check this. Let's hit OK. So a new window will pop up. It will say, hey, add files to server. Let's just cancel this for now. We can do it later by hand. Now this is the project we have. The very last thing we do before we do our initial submit is to have a P4 ignore file, which functions same as get ignore. It tells Perforce, hey, what kind of file I'm going to ignore, and what kind of files I'm going to upload onto the server. Let's enter the folder we just created. Here it is. Let's new, create a text document, and make sure you change the suffix to P4 ignore. If you cannot show the .txt at the end, please go to view, check this on. Let's open this. The version I use is a version I found online and then personally fixed that, because the version that Unreal Engine gave out seems doesn't function on my side. Maybe it's a Perforce update, maybe Maybe it was from years ago. We don't know. But my version looks like this. Let's save it. Another thing we're going to do after we've done this is CMDS. Let's open CMD and type in P4 set, then all capital P4 ignore, no space, equal to, no space, dot, P4 ignore. Just same as the file we just created. This tells Perforce saying that, hey, what kind of files you're going to ignore and what kind of files you are going to upload onto the server. Just to double check that, you can type in P4 set if you want to. And inside here, you can see the P4 ignore set. Let's close this. Let's refresh this. You can see the P4 ignore we just added in. Let's go to the pending list on the right side. FYI, we are now in P4V and P4 admin is not necessary, so we can close that for now. This is the change list telling the server, hey, what kind of things you want to upload, what kind of things you want to submit, and what kind of changes you want. Just in case, and just the first time get familiar with all the procedure, let's pick P4 ignore first, and then add it in. This window pops up. We can just keep the change list as default because we are running it on our local server. Alright, we are the only person who will use this. Personal use, you can be casual, so don't show this dialog again for me. Okay, and now we can see, hey, this triangle is becoming red. That means, hey, we have a change here. Alright, what we do after is we select this line of red triangle and hit submit. Now we will need to write a description. I will just call upload P4 ignore and submit. Now you can see in my depot I just submitted this. Alright, the depot, picture this as GitHub repo, is the server side that stores the files that you upload, and this on your local desktop is the latest version of file you're working on. Once you feel a version is good, you can just come in here, select this whole folder, add, click submit. Alright, let me do this again. Every single time, remember, every single time you made some change, you just hit add, and this will pop up after the first time you uploaded P4 ignore. It is normal. It is telling you that, hey, these are the files I'm going to ignore. Alright, I'm not going to upload to the server because they means nothing. I don't want to see this again, and I hit this. Alright, I turn this on. Let's hit OK. Now we have a list of change. Wow, this is the only one because I haven't done anything to this yet. Right, let's just submit this change. And let's name description it as initial submit. Alright, now we can see we have these folders here, and we are not submitting saved or intermediate here because we already set the rules in P4 ignore. We are ignoring these two folders. That's for the P4V side. Let me turn on my Unreal Engine. Okay, here is my Unreal project. How do we connect to the version control? Is you will have a version control here. Oopsies, let me disconnect it first. Alright, you will see a version control button here. Click on this and say connect to version control. For the provider here, you'll pick Perforce, as we just set it up the server, we just set it up the depot, and the workspace is just the thing shows here. Alright, you will see a list of available here. You can just choose local TUD. Alright, cool. So accept settings, and now you can say, hey, this is controlled connected. Cool. And what I'm going to do right now is right click, new folder, let's call it textures. And inside the texture, I am going to drag this cat picture in. Alright? Ta-da! It's in. Another thing we're going to do is let me add a cube in here and save the scene. Save all. Save selected. Untitled, yes. So you can see now in the content we have these two new things, and in the texture we have this new thing. They have a plus on there here because Unreal Engine and Perforce recognize them as new things. So what we're going to do now is hit revision control, and then we can either choose view changes or submit changes. I'm going to submit it here. So submit changes. Now it does everything for you. It skips all the steps of adding them into a list. The only thing you need to do here is just to submit the files, alright? Change list description, let's say cat and map. Let's hit submit. Cool. You see it says submitted change list here. Now we can just go to Perforce, P4V, of course. And there's two ways to check. One is to enter your default, check your content, see if there's a texture named this. Yes. And another way of checking is go to the history and see, hey, do you have the number 4 change here? If you do, yes. Alright, cat and map. That's all for today. And good luck. See ya.